So basically what you need is you need to go to your Creative Cloud and ensure that you have your beta version of Photoshop. So I have Photoshop beta. That is one thing that you'll need, and probably update it. I had to update it again today because it's constantly having a lot of updates. Another thing that you will need instantly will be a Substance 3D viewer, which is a beta version. Okay, both of these are in beta, and you will need to have both of these in place to work around with for this specific feature that we're talking about today, right? Okay, so assuming that you all might have a 3D object with you, and in case you do not have a 3D object with you, all that you have to do is you have to go to our stock images, and in stock, you can simply go and ask for a 3D, and you can look out for whatever objects you're looking for. It'll be able to start giving you an idea of the same, and once you get what you like, you'll be able to, figure out which one is working for you and take it from there, right? So say, for example, I want to go with this one. So all you have to do is you have to just ensure that you've downloaded that, and it'll come mostly in an OBJ file format. As you can see, there are lots of options. I've just gone for car, but you can always go and see what is it that you're looking for that specific project of yours, and you'll be able to get objects here itself in case if you do not have the specific object that we are trying to work around with today. Then you have to go to Photoshop and work around with your magic. Here, I would want to again talk about another thing, which is another feature of Photoshop. A lot of you might already be knowing about. It's called Generative Workspace. Now, you would obviously have an image which you have generated or you have taken from stock or any other place, and you'd probably want to composite it there. But what if I just want to create an image of my own and have it the liberty of creating it the way I want to? Then I can obviously go to Generative Workspace. Now, Generative Workspace, for all the people who do not know much about this specific feature, is something that is very similar to the web Firefly version, where you will have almost all the same capabilities, when you will get to write your prompt and you will get to also look into variations like the aspect ratio. You can also add a reference of both composition and style, which is obviously available in Photoshop, in Firefly web platform. You'll also get to look into the effects, and you can choose if you want an art or a photo format for the same, right? You can choose all these things, have it all in your control, work around with that, and then create what you want to. But what is most exciting about this specific feature in Photoshop Beta, to me, is that you can add a variable, right? I was trying out various things, like because I was looking at a card, I was trying out various options where I was actually able to see the generations that it done for me. I was also trying to do something abstract where I even tried to create an island, floating island, and work around with those things. But let me just stick to something normal for now. So here is the latest creations that I had. Now this was working well for me, but maybe for the concept that you're working on, say for example for a car, you might want to create something where you would have variations. You would probably want it next to a beach, you would probably want the car next to a desert, in a desert, and you would probably want it near mountains. So I have just one specific image generation here of set of 4, but instead with this variable, I'll be able to generate that many with just one prompt. And that makes my life a lot more easier, right? So here I have gone for mountains and forest, okay? But instead of mountain and forest, if I could add a variable, right? I put a comma and I say desert, and I say next to a river or farms, maybe. So I can add as many variables as I want, and as you see, my generations was actually only 4, because per generation you get 4 images. But since I've added 2 more options where I've asked for a desert and I've asked for a farm, it's actually made it into 4 into 3, it's 12. I'm just going to go ahead and generate that. Now, how does this help us? It helps make your mood boards way faster, right? Now you'll be able to see the variations instantly, and you'll be able to decide, no, this is not working for me, this is working for me, this can do better. Now, another thing that you can also look into or think about from this aspect is that it is opening in Photoshop, and the Photoshop generations that were created all long back are here itself. So I get to even see my generations, and I get to simply click on one of these. So say, for example, I'll take farm this time, and I just go for farm. So it opens up the image here. And once it does that, I can simply ask it to open, right? There you go, the farm image. And I say open. And instantly, I don't even have to take it down, download it from a Firefly website. I can simply do all these things in Photoshop Beta, and life is so much more simpler. At least that's what I feel. So I hope it is the same feeling that you all have. But this is a good feature to have, a good feature to know, and I'm sure it's going to help you all a lot, right? So now that I have my background in place and I have my file, the image downloaded also, all I have to do is I have to place the image. So I go down to my downloads, go for my OBG file. Here's my card, and I simply choose to place it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and place this image and see what's happening. And there you go. Here's my card. This is in a 3D format, okay? All right. So if I have my 3D layer in place, let me now look at my layers and I'll show you what it does. So instantly I have my file, which is now in a smart object format. Okay. Now this image, let me just desaturate this a bit. It's a little too much, right? Just a little, just so that we focus on the card for the time being, and I'll eventually do it, right? But here's my card. And as you can see, this is in a smart object format. So whenever I have it in a smart object format, all I have to do is I have to double click on that, and immediately it will open the 3D substance viewer, which you have to install separately, as I've already mentioned. So I'm going to double click on this. And the moment I do that, you see that there is another pop that comes, and immediately I get my substance viewer in place. Now this is my substance viewer, and as you can see in this UI, in this space that I have all my options at the bottom. When you can see that there's a mouse with 3 buttons, you have all the object orientation. It's giving you an idea or a preview of what it does. And you can change this as per what you need it to be, right? So here I'm going to just go ahead and show you. I can make the card bigger, smaller, move it around with my mouse, and choose what's working for me really well, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now a bit and show you how it's really making a difference. So it's quite a good toy to have, right? Like if you are not very good with 3D, but you get a 3D object in your hand, now you'll be able to work around with this, and you'll be able to generate a 3D rendered image in the way you would want to visualize it, you would want to see it, or you would want to understand it, right? So here is my image. I would just want it to have a little more of perspective in place. And once I have that, okay, now I have my perspective in place, and here you will see that I have a lot of other options which are available. And then there are 2 things that I can see on top. One is export an image, and then there is to Photoshop, right? Now to Photoshop is what we'll be doing most of the times, because we are going to keep blending between the 2 images or areas. And here is what we're going to look into. Here, what happens is I have my composition, I have the appearance, I have environment, and I have generate. So let me just show you quickly what is meant by environment here, okay? So when I go to environment, you will be able to see that I can now add a ground plane enabled. So immediately it actually gives you a shadow, which was not there. See, this is looking like it's a pasted thing, but the moment I add this, it gets a lot more depth in place. It looks more natural. It's yet to come, but it's going one step at a time. Now, the moment I've done that, it's given me this specific one. I'm also going to go ahead and denoise it. And if you see, what also happens here is I have this thing called as ray trace. Okay. Now, the moment I turn ray trace on, it immediately makes it a lot more specific, a lot more precise around what is happening. And it also allows me to have a reflection enabled. Okay, reflection is something that will work really well for a few of your products, probably a perfume bottle, or maybe, you would have something on a glass where you would want the reflection to be seen. You'd want it to be a lot more realistic, where you're having a platform, a podium, or probably a table which is shiny or glossy. You definitely want a reflection seeing there, and that is why we have this option for reflection enabled. And this does work really well. It captures the things around it and makes it a lot more beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and press this. There are a few things that starts concerning you, because as you see, this image is getting cut. Now, the reason why it's happening is because that is my canvas area. If I go to composition, you'll be able to see that my blue outline is specific to that space. All I have to do now is just ensure that it works best with my composition. And I just work around with this, and then I choose to move the car around and make it a lot more simplified, so it just does not feel a little off or weird. So here you go. I'm just going to go ahead and do this and work around with this. And this image seems to be a little smaller. So what I'll do is I'll go to another image that I've previously done. I'll quickly show you this one, and then I'll shift to that, because I feel that the image versus the composition size is not really working for us right now. So I'll just switch to that, but I'm just showing you how you work with the reflection opacity. And as you see, if you had something like a wet floor or a wet road, you'll be able to control that completely and make it look a lot more realistic or perfected. So once you have decided on what works for you, you simply go to Photoshop, and just like that, you will be able to see this 3D object on your image integrated really well, where you can obviously go ahead and do a lot more things around. So now, for example, I have my image ready. I'll just quickly go to Photoshop, and there you go. The image has been converted to this, right? I think the ray trace was on. Okay. So here again, I will just switch to another image because I feel that this is too small and it's not occupying the way it should. So let me go to this one. Now this is my van, right? And I had gone ahead and created this, but I will redo the whole thing so that you'll get to see what I have done and understand it better. So I'm just going to go ahead and import my file again, and this time it'll be the van. So let me just do that. Let me just show you how to do that in this itself, in this image itself. So here's my van, which is again a 3D object, which is an OBJ format. And once I have the OBJ format image in place, I have gone ahead and added the reflection also onto this. But now what I have done is I have actually done quite a few other things to this, like the brightness. Now, if you see, you have an option for a brightness, which allows you to choose how bright you'd want this image to be. Okay, now this is going to make a lot of difference to your image. You will be able to make it as much as you want based on the background around it and work with that. And then you'll have the rotation, which will allow your light source to be defined in the right way. Now, in case if you want your light source to be coming from a specific angle based on your entire composition, you can work around with that and see and take complete control over that as well. Now, another thing that makes this feature very interesting is the fact that in the light, you have something called as a light preset. Now, in the light preset itself, if you see, you have three basic ones, which is one is a studio light, the other one is an exterior light, and then you have the ulterior. So these are the three options that you see. And as you can see, it's making a lot of difference. Every single time you select any of these options, you'll be able to see a lot of difference in how your image is forming or getting created. Now, in case if you don't want any of these, which is what I had done previously, you simply go to the folder and choose the image that you would want to work with. Here, what I had done was you have HDR image format in place, but you simply change it to all files. And once you have done that, you can simply go for the background. I had saved the same image as a background also. I've chosen the same image. I say open. And once I've done that, now it's actually rendering with all the reflections of these mountains and the sky just the way I would want it to be. And now once I've got that, that is where my brightness might get a little dim. And once it gets a little dimmed out, you will have to work around with this aspect and see which one is working best for you. So that is where we are with regards to the lighting part of it, making it a lot more realistic for you and making it a lot more intense. Now, once you have chosen any of these things and you're happy and satisfied with what your output is coming as, you simply go to Photoshop. It'll take a couple of minutes, and not even a couple of minutes, it takes hardly a minute. But once it's done, you will be able to see the reflection here itself in Photoshop. Now, the best part about this aspect is that just as earlier in Photoshop, I was able to go ahead and work around with the curves or any kind of adjustment layers to brighten my image up the way I want to. So now, say for example, I just want to go ahead and do curves again or an exposure. I can simply, just tag this. And yeah, I can simply go ahead and just tag this to this file and now work on my curves, just ensuring that it's looking or as pop as I would want my product to look like. And it'll be able to give me the exact results based on these inputs that we're giving. So the control is completely up to you. I'm just tweaking around a bit right now, but I think here, right? So again, it's becoming a little too dark on the front. I'm just going to work around a little more on that. And yep, there you go. So this is how it was before. And with my curve, work around, make it lot more popped up. I can actually work around with this particular layer also as a smart object. I can keep adding, the variations of making it into a different mode to make it highlighted a lot more and, to make it stand out the way I would want it to. Now, there are a couple of other tweaks that I had done with this specific image. One of them was the fact that I have now gone ahead and given it a little more depth, or I was just trying to make it focus specifically on the car. So I'd gone and given a gradient in the background, making it, focus specifically on the product rather than everything else around it. And then I had worked a little bit of dimming the saturation or the colors around the background to again work for it. Just a couple of things that I added on just to ensure that my image was working for me the way I would want it to. Another thing I did was in my image itself, I actually went ahead and I added a smart blur, just a radial blur, because otherwise as a firefly image, it generally tends to be very sharp, everything around, and it did not have a object or a focal point in that image. And since I had generated this image the way I wanted it to, it did not have those, specific depth of field kind of an effect. So to work around with that, I have actually gone ahead and given it a little bit of radial blur, and I have just ensured that crispiness around the spaces is a little lesser and it's focusing specifically on the car. So these are the things that I've worked around with for this specific image. And then if I go back to my substance, right, viewer here, I will now show you a couple of other things that you can work around with. So this was to do with the light. And as I had already mentioned, I have also shown you what it does with regards to the composition aspect, right? You have also understood what composition does. It's basically the proof frame, the frame in which the object was rendered, how much of that space was taken by it. So working around with that, this is what we got as a result. Now, there are a lot of other things that are possible for you to work around with. One of them is, of course, appearance. And in appearance, you'll get to see that all your object materials have also imported and are here. Okay. In case if you feel that you would want to change a material, you have a material preset also available, which is similar to Substance 3D. It's a part of it itself. So say, for example, I want to go ahead and change this part of the image, or I want to, create different kind of material for this. I can actually go ahead and try a different material. The only downfall of this specific change making in this this scenario is that it might not go to Photoshop again, or it'll just get rendered as an image export. Another thing is that you will not be able to undo it once you have done it. So be a little mindful in case if you have gone ahead and created something that you really like, save a copy and then come and explore and do a lot more other options, right? It's always good to save your copy. Otherwise, you might just, land up wasting the time that you have invested in creating this specific asset. Now, say for example, I want to try a different type of material. I want to try a different kind of paint, or maybe I would want to try a different kind of material or texture. So I can see there are tons and tons of options that are available here. I can simply ask for metal, and here are my metal options. Now, if I want to try a chrome, instantly it changes to my chrome um, field, right? So looks good, great, but it now has removed all the previous assets that had worked on it with. So that is the only challenge in case if you're trying to explore materials on this aspect, then just be mindful of the fact that you will not get back the materials that you had worked on this file. Okay, you can always close this file and reopen your file. You will still get everything back. But this specific file, if you have gone ahead, worked around with the lighting, worked around with the angle and all of that, just save it, then come and explore these options so that you now have a backup. You're sure that, this composition was working for you and everything. You don't have to redo that part. So here are various options. As I mentioned, you can simply choose to, select what you want and work around with that. Tons of options available, tons of materials available. So say, for example, even if the glass that you have worked on, you would want it to, look a lot more specific, you can actually go ahead and choose that. I can simply go to all. I have highlighted the glasses right now. And here, if you see, I see translucent. In this, I see different kinds of glasses. So I'll be able to change it to anything I would want it to. Instantly, the render is changing. It's becoming a lot different than what it previously was. As you can see, previously, this was how my file looked, right? And this is how it's looking now. The moment I do a to Photoshop, it's immediately going to work around and it'll start reflecting on this specific image. The glass will look different, the body will look different, the rendering will look very different. So that's how you'll be able to, like now make sense of what is happening and why you'd want to go ahead and do this. Somehow it's not reflecting right now. I'll just see why. Yeah, there you go. Just took a couple of seconds more. So this is how my 3D object can be shaped and worked around with and can, be tweaked to any length or extent that you'd want it to and work around with fabulous results, right? So you had a 3D object. Now you could also work around with the materials on it based on your needs or specifications. There is another file that I would want to show as an example of what I had done before. And this was a cosmetic. I had actually gone ahead and created an entire ad around it. Now, if I had to show you, this was basically a podium that I created in Photoshop, in Firefly. And I added that, and my product was this image. Okay, so let me just close this one because it's still showing the previous image. We're going to go ahead and close that. You cannot work with two separate images. Substance 3D viewer will always open the latest image that you want to work around with. So this is again a 3D object. I have created my entire podium around this space. It was supposed to be a beauty product and had gone ahead and looked into the light and everything. I just double click on this image and just like that, I get my image in place. As I told you earlier, you have various options that are available. You can simply work around with this, see what works best. Give it the kind of reflection or whatever you need it to. And then you can also work around with the roughness of the reflection in case if you wanted to. And then you can always add the denoise if you want to, right? Brightness and lights can obviously be looked into. I prefer doing everything and then turning on the ray trace because ray trace tends to make your software or your computer a little slower. So it'll be nice that you are, aware or confident about where it is and how it's looking, and eventually add the ray trace as the end result will be very beautiful, but it'll not take too much of your time for deciding how your light source is going to be and things of that sort. So here I've just I'm just figuring out what kind of light I would want, since I have my pebbles next to it, which already has certain kind of light reflecting and giving me a light source. I'm going to work with that, and then probably not keep the this thing around. Yeah, the reflection should not be here. And then I can now also look into my angle. If I want to change it, if I want to make it a little more huge, or probably give it a little more shake or turn it around a bit, I can work with that. And just like that, I'll be able to get a good result completely in my control. I mean, this would have probably taken us a lot of photographs, a lot of, variations, a lot of time. But if you just have a 3D product uh, file with you, now your life is getting a lot more easier as a designer to go ahead and create these kind of ad assets, communication assets, brochures, or whatnot, to make it go faster, simpler, and swifter, right? So this is a to Photoshop, and as soon as I've done that, my image will change, and I'll be able to now work around with all the other things that I want to make it a part of, like adding the text around it, add a logo around it, make it look more beautiful and cohesive. So this is how I wanted to show you what is possible for us to create when we talk about any image with regards to a 3D object in our Photoshop file, right? Now, if I have to go back to this specific image, I would simply try to make it a little more smaller and probably make this image a little more smaller. The horizon need not be so big. I'll probably make this, crop the image a little more, and work around with this, because we had recently downloaded this image. Why waste it, right? So if I have to go back to this image, now I'm going to double click on this, and I'll show you what are the variations that are possible with the other features that we have, right? I just covered the appearance. I have covered the composition. Now I have also spoken about the environment. Now let's just have a conversation about the generate feature about for it, right? So before the generate feature, why don't I just simply try something different? So creating this image in our file, wherein we are just going to try materials one more time. Let's just see what is possible for us to do. Now it's all black metallic, but if I could just change this color, it'll pop a little better. So let me just do that right away, and probably have a red paint, but I want a metallic one. Okay, let me just try. So here you go. I have now tried a red metallic version or matte finish version, and it's changed that. It's looking like a little bit like a toy car right now. It's probably because I have to work around with the lighting for this. So I'll have to work around with the lighting, make it look a lot more realistic. Here you go. I have to also look into the light aspect of things. I'll probably go for this one for the time being, because again, I'll have to otherwise get the environment in place. I have to save the image and get it here. And then I can use the composition, make it a lot more bigger. Now it's working. Previously, it was looking a little too small for the image that we had generated. So that's why I had to crop the image a bit. So here you go. My image is here. Or maybe I'll just try and add the environment with the image itself, right? I'll just do that. So it'll give us a lot more crisp result. Let me just do that right now. I will simply save this as a background. Okay, and I go back to this, and Yeah, and then I go to our environment and I go to the lighting and then I add this specific file which I just created the background for. I simply have to go from HDR to all files, and this will accept my all files, and immediately I have a different um, effect on my entire thing. Yeah, okay. So probably not the best material that I have used. I should probably try using something different. Maybe I'll try copper this time. Yeah, this is definitely looking way better. And the glasses need to change to a glass. Let's quickly work around with that. Translucent is where we had it. There you go. There you go. And I'll probably have to, yeah, work around with this glass also. Yeah, give it the right effect. And just like that, now I have my image in place. Where now if I go to Photoshop, it should give me a lot more um, better image with regards to the 3D file that we had just created. And let's see what it comes as. And then of course you have to work around with the background. You cannot just directly use this because you will need to ensure that your image is obviously the highlight or the point of eye viewing. So I'll have to just ensure that it's working for me. I'll probably make it a little more. And then work around with normal. Yeah. So you kind of get an idea of what's possible and how it can work around. You can actually now see how this image can work in general. So I can simply ask it to be a lot more straight. So basically it's the space where you can take any object that you want or like and create an image based on what your needs are and really make it work for you. So here you go. I think I probably need to have a different background so that it stands out a lot more. But you're getting an idea of what's possible with this specific feature and what are the different features that are available in this specific feature. Right. So that is the most important thing for us to understand, that we can actually look around and see what works best for us. Now, if I'm in altogether, I can go ahead and try that. Um, Let me just try one. Another fascinating thing that's possible for you to do in this itself. Um, Again, now if I'm changing the background, I'll also have to ensure that the environment that I've taken also has this specific image, because then there'll be in how it has been controlled and looked into. So whatever your image be, you'll just have to ensure that that image is working well with your specific product, and ensuring that the background also works with that. So I'll have to now look at this. My substance will also change. And here I'll have to just go and work around, give it a nice spacing. And there you go. So as mentioned earlier, I'll have to change my background for the environment also. It's giving a green shade right now. It cannot have that green shade. So I'll have to go back and change the environment image also and give it that shade. So it'll have those blue and golden lights and a little bit of black also, giving it that shine and sleek around this. So this is all that can be done. All of this is possible. You can work with a product image. You can work with a a proper image like a car or a bike or whatever your obsession or liking is towards. And you can now look into how much control you can have even without understanding 3D Max or any of these softwares per se. So that is something that I really wanted you all to understand and see what the controls can be. Other than this, there is a couple of other things that you can do around with the space itself, which is in 3D Substance Viewer. Now, this is a little different than the Photoshop part. This is only about this specific software. So if I just go here and I show you this, here you'll be able to see that you have text to 3D and you have image 3D model to the image. Now in 3D model to the image, you'll be able to see that there are variations that are possible for you to do. So here, say for example, the first one says generate a new look for your model. This is the third one actually. So it says generate a new look for the model. So say for example, I want to change this to a different kind of image, or I did not like any of the materials that I saw and I want to try a different material altogether. So maybe I'll go for matte peel effect. So it can be anything, okay? It need not be something specific to the car itself. It could probably be made of waterfall, or anything that makes, your crazy imagination go wild. You can try those things and it'll obviously give you results based on your inputs. So I've just tried a very safe zone here. I've tried a different color and I'm looking for an effect based on that. So you can make it into a wooden one for all you know. See, I have got a teal effect card and it's now giving me these images which are completely based on my requirement, right? Now here what you'd see is that you can obviously go to Photoshop as well as export an image in case if you want to just go ahead and do this. It's very convenient and easy to do. Another thing that you can do here is go for a generate a new image. Now what generate a new image will do is it'll actually understand this specific object that you have and it'll create a background with a similar object. So it'll be a car, but it might not have the same features or the specific specifications of this car. It'll work around with this as a composition, but it'll create its own things. So if I have to just like use a vintage car for that matter and create an image, so I can simply go and say ki, vintage car and um, old town. So I'm just going to try giving this, and now it will generate an entirely new image based on these reference points of the prompt that you have given and the object that has already been a part of this image. So it's a completely different thing. This image that you are creating or this image that is getting generated here will not have the 3D capabilities. Now, see, I had asked for a vintage car. It's worked around with that, changed my car a bit, but it's given me effects based on my expectations, right? It's actually worked around with that quite well. I like it. It's looking good. So it's given me the whole Old Town effect also quite well. So this is what is possible for you to do with the generate a new image. Now, generate a composition scene will actually allow you to use the car itself, but it will now give you a generation around it. So the model stays the same. You can create a background around it. What I had done in Firefly or Photoshop generative workspace is can also be done here. So here, if I want, I can ask it to have, sorry, I just switched, so I assumed that was not seen. A road on a snow-capped mountain. So I'm just going to go ahead and generate that. So it's again going to take which was a part of my scene. And now it's going to walk around and create a background for this image based on this specific prompt that I've given. So it can be anything that you want, yeah, again, but this is what we have gone ahead. This, I think I have managed to show you most of the things that are possible for you to do. But of course, you can do a lot more. And we'll all be very happy to see what all you have. Tag us or let us know how it is in your generations. We would love to see that also. So yeah, this is all that is possible for you to create with the 3D model image when it comes to generative image. Another thing that is text to 3D. Now, text to 3D does not have any relation with any of these things. So what it'll do is it'll create a completely different thing altogether. So if I have to just say a car or a car, uh, and then now I'm generating. So this will generate a completely different thing altogether, but it'll actually create a 3D model for me. Okay. So but it will not be similar or it will not be based on the specific um, and as you see, it's a 3D object that has been generated where there is a mountain and there is a car here in the mountain. So again, it's very different than what the rest of it is. So I prefer going for the previous one, wherein it's a 3D model to the text where you are able to work around with what you have actually created. So that gives you a lot more, control over what you want the results to be. But that is has been given as an option to you. So with this, I have managed to finish sharing all of substance 3D view in our Photoshop. And there are the 3 examples of what is possible for you to create. Here's one. This is the other one. And here also, I think had gone ahead and written something. I was trying to create an ad. And this one where I've actually worked with a cosmetic image, wherein I have just created the entire space around it. So I hope this session was useful and helpful. If there are any questions, I would like to keep it open now.